Skyrim offers endless ways to play, but I bet no one has tried this. Well, I didn't actually check. Let's hop in the DeLorean to when Skyrim first graced us, with Morrowind and Oblivion behind me. Creativity was the name of the game. I wondered, can you defeat Skyrim without getting your hands dirty? Like, at all? Enter the Chaos Mage. Yo, dudettes, ThisIsKetchu. Here to answer the question, can you beat Skyrim without taking or doing any damage? But before we get into the hows and whys, the story has to start somewhere. There was the boring rideshare to Helgen, and before the feces hit the air conditioner, it was time to create our hero. I picked a Breton as my unlucky protagonist for that sweet magic resistance that would, spoiler alert, be utterly pointless. Bretons also start with somewhat amped up conjuration and illusion, which may or may not be crucial to the run. At this point, I wasn't ready to either confirm or deny. I toyed with the idea of naming myself Yukito, after a comic book hero who had a rough go at life, just like me. But instead, I christened myself Goblin Face, after the masterpiece you see before you, which I accidentally created by going wild with the sliders. My second option was Thalmor, but I wasn't ready yet to play as the arrogant piss stain that plagues Skyrim. I need to build more tolerance for that. After the winged weasel swooped in to crash the fun unbirthday event, I got control. Before seeking the shelter from the rain of fire, I took a good look around, just because I had never done so before. It's not like there was a time limit. Inside the tower's dubious safety, I set my health to 1 with the help of a console command. This spared me the endless save reloads every time a stiff breeze hit me. Now, even the gentlest touch could send me to the great loading screen in the sky, forcing me to navigate life's everyday situations like a gauntlet of misery. As Alduin popped in to say hello, and with roughly 12 minutes into the run, we died for the first time. But I learned this: stay away from the fire. It was like flying too close to the sun, but less cool. After proving my mettle on the second round of the obstacle course, I spun my way into Helgen Keep. Ralof set my feelers loose. I made sure my HP was at 1, and the real game begins. For the first time, I avoided combat. My strategy was to sit back, letting Ralof tank the hits, while I set low opacity wolves to nip at my enemy's knees. With the loot of the Imperial soldiers' MacBite, I strutted onward confidently, armed with enthusiasm to continue covering behind my allies without changing my tactics. Even at the mere hint of combat, I'd bend my knees, hide, and launch howling missiles. After picking a few logs, and wiggling my butt outside the enemy detection range to level up sneak, I die again. Guess what killed me? Take a moment to give it a shot.
What?
That's right, the items that I dropped on the ground to make space for more better loot slightly bruised me, and I croaked. I had to test it again to make sure it wasn't a fluke, and yep, I got kicked by the bucket. On my third attempt, I tried balancing on the railing while dropping items to avoid their deadly bounce back.
Freak. Oh, I'm so weak.
Lesson learned. From now on, I'm stuffing unwanted items into biodegradable trash bags. Next up, the 8-legged hurdles. I didn't want to risk getting turned into an insect smoothie, so I backtracked a painfully long way to find Ralof being utterly unhelpful. I shoved him around until he agreed to level the speed bumps, and then I stepped on a ribcage. I should have known better. Might as well have been a landmine. On my way to find Ralof again, I slipped and had what felt like a heart attack, I guess. Heading back with Rudolph, the stalling idiot, I figured out the cause of my untimely demise. Ralof pest controlled the spiders, and I took great care to not touch anything, avoiding corpses like they were radioactive. Once outside, I let Ralof lead the way to Riverwood. I touched the thief's stone, which might surprise you, but I'll explain in a bit. In Riverwood, I took advantage of hrothgar by taking everything she had to her name, including every last bucket in her house. I took a quick power nap in her bed and played a little game of Russian Riverwood roulette by munching on random ingredients I had marinating inside my pocket. Then I sold their stuff to Lucan, including the healing potions. Those things aren't worth their weight in poop to me. With my newly acquired wealth, I bought Fury and Raid Zombie magazines. For my next trick, I entered Embershard Mine to practice my sneak skills. This is where I want you to remember the Thief's Stone. It makes sneaky things go up in level more faster. After collecting all the torches on the walls, I positioned myself next to a couple of bandits, let my phone to rest against my controller's thumbstick, causing my character to sneak sideways against the wall, while I went to clean up the bathroom. It was a genius plan until I decided I wanted to listen to music while cleaning, which I usually don't do. I forgot all about the sneaking, grabbed my phone, and now we have over 18 minutes of footage of me standing still, while the camera pans around, highlighting my stupidity.
Oh, kui tyhmä mä oon.
After recovering from my shocking levels of idiocy, I did it right and trained my sneak up to level 42, switching positions midway for fun and variety. Struck with boredom, I activated the Mage Stone and began sneaking my way toward Whiterun. Upon arriving over at Pelagia Farm, I lent a hand to the companions in taking down a giant. Afterwards, my Skyrim waifu berated me with,
Well, that's taken care of. No thanks to you.
Excuse me?
She then called me a milk drinker and proceeded to glorify the companions or some such nonsense. I called it a waste of time.
Well, nobody asked you.
Took the words right out of my mouth.
I can fix her.
After stealing out the potatoes nearby, I sold my latest assortment of junk to the grinning Khajiit, made my way to Dragon's Reach, and bought the spell Muffle from Hrothgar, picked up some other spells too, but that's not important. Before heading out, the wall asked me about the interruption that didn't happen, and I ignored it. Back at Riverwood and inside our home, I kept casting Muffle and recovering my mana by sleeping to level up Illusion. The perk is Quiet Casting as my goal. I would have reached it sooner if I hadn't brain-farted a point into the wrong spot. You see, Quiet Casting is on the right side of the skill tree, but my first thought was to stick a point in the middle, where it really wasn't necessary. Genius. After getting bored, I practiced my remaining Illusion points on my way to Minecraft. It was time to get dangerous. Upon reaching my elusive target, I turned the air inside Empeshard Mine hot and thick by casting Fury on a bandit and watched with amusement as chaos erupted and he wrangled with his friend until expiration. Once the dust settled, I resurrected the stiff bandit and replayed the scene. This is the essence of my build, prowling in the shadows unseen, while enemies have no idea why they're suddenly turning on one another or why their fallen comrades are rising from the dead, ready for a rematch. In short, everyone's getting PTSD so bad they can't even stay dead and nobody knows why. After trading my crabs for caps, I instant transmission to Whiterun to buy more spells, but abruptly changed course and did a 360 the other way when Durak the Orc, Dog for short, approached me with an intrusive Dawnguard DLC quest. As the next possible thing that I can do, I traveled to Winterhold and avoided Dog again. I'm sensing this will be a headache further down the future. Inside the College of Winterhold, there were spell dispensers that piqued my interest. The Gatekeeper, a yellow-stained surly troll, insisted that I comply with her demands to gain entry. Refusing to be bossed around, I attempted to find my own way inside. The gate was predictably locked tight like a pitch meeting. Fortunately, Ernie was heading over where I wanted to be. Thinking I could smuggle my way in, tailgating in his suction right after he opened the gate, I shadowed him, painstakingly tediously. As usual, nothing ever works the way I want. Even after gently slamming Ernie's head against the gate, he refused to connect the dots of my subtle hints and had a seizure instead. I reluctantly appeased the big-tailed bouncer, entered the college, broke all the enchanted stuff that I had to my name, and risked life and limb kicking up a fuss. Further into the college, I endured Tofu's lecture while impatiently nudging people to hasten up the conversations. Ankano was also present, looking utterly bewildered. He had no idea what was going on. I suspected he'd been sniffing glue again. Then came the part I was truly concerned about. I needed to block a spell using Lesser Ward, without taking any damage. Before Tofu could initiate the potential of a game of dodgeball, I wielded the power of 2 hands just to be on the safe side. After purchasing a soul trap spell from Pastor and liberating all the soul gems I could find from the living quarters, I acquired Calm from the invisible idiot and set off for Sarthal. On my way, I looked at 2 bandits hunting a goat, before applying my fork into someone else's soup. Inside the archaeological site, I spoke with the fossil, collected some trinkets with arrow enchantments, and promptly found myself trapped. It didn't take me long to blast my way through a wall, effectively destroying a piece of Skyrim's history. As I followed the walking, talking, tedious Tofu deeper into the ruins, some nerd arrived on the scene.
Keep your hands to yourself.
The caged geek babbled some nonsense. It was cryptic. Man, I wish I knew why. Why I should care? When the Draugr showed up, my strategy of protecting my allies from the back worked wonders again. I forgot that exploding sigils are a thing that exist. Other than that minor hiccup, it was smooth sailing. If by smooth sailing you mean an arid grind. The Scourge Lord did mount stinky undead lung air on me, which turned my body potato sack flaccid permanently. After hiding in some crevice, I threw portable kitchens at the expired exhaust breath spewing stupid head until my issues were well done and over easy. In the next room, some lightning sigils were playing on my mental. They refused to activate no matter what I did, so I took a leap of faith over them. Deeper inside, Tofu finally caught up with me and tried to sabotage me by activating a trap. Joke's on him. I accidentally stumbled my toe on a shield lying on the ground and died to that instead. At the end of that trial of patience, my mental endurance was tested again. Taking down Yuri Corderson wasn't hard, it just took forever. Tofu asked me to inform the Archmage of the giant super ball we found. Ignoring his request, I decided to leave the college for now, thinking I'd deal with it later if higher tier spells required it. After emerging from the long-winded ruins, I was tired of being poor. Hitting Dawn's door, I saw Dog's stupid face again, but managed to avoid him. I dug into my stash of goodies saved for rainy days and began printing money. By now you probably know how this goes, but in case you don't, I went into detail in my last Skyrim video. The process involves a bunch of enchanting and iron daggers. I even sold the priceless artifacts found in Sartal just to make a quick buck. On my way out, Dog stopped me by the door and flapped his stupid gums. I tried ignoring him, but the damage was done. I was angry, like a wasp with 2 stingers. I turned him into a furry, and that made everyone beat him up. I stood back and enjoyed Dog getting what was coming to him.
Yeah, that's what you get, idiot.
At some point, I accidentally turned my own clothes into enchanting particles. It would do me okay to pay attention sometimes. I could have gone all in on the grind here and max out enchanting, but grinding things makes me slowly lose my sanity. Stopping by Whiterun, Nazim said the thing. I responded with unprecedented composure, and nobody cared about his death, including me. Next, the local screaming doomsayer grated my nerves too. Whiterun has never been so peaceful. Nobody said anything, but I know that everyone is thanking me right now, deep inside their minds. Arriving at Dragon's Reach, I talked with Jarl Barface, discussed the Dragon's Late with Harry Potter, and was promptly sent off on a fetch quest for an overglorified cutting board, before hitting another set of ancient ruins of Skyrim that everyone fondles in their memories. It was time for hiking, with Bleak Falls Barrow as my goal. As I observed a tower full of bandits tearing each other apart, one of them got distracted by a bunny. I relate to that. Feeling sorry for the bunny, I resurrected it, only to watch it scamper away as soon as the action started. I pictured it bravely trying to defend my honor and getting one-shotted by the bandits.
Staggeringly unhelpful.
Inside Bleak Falls Barrow, I posed a political question to the bouncing bandits, which swiftly ignited a heated debate among them. I watched an outlaw try his hand at fitting shapes into holes and die of sheer stupidity. Casting fury on a Skaven family disrupted their evening plans, adding a chaotic twist to their night. And then something weird happened. While testing the effects of calm and fury on the giant 8-legged menace, it was fury that prompted Avel to wrangle himself out of the webbings and engage the spider. All he had to do was believe in himself and wait for me to arrive to play second fiddle.
Kill it! Kill it! Get me down! Get me down!
Following that, I released Avel the Confused from his now imaginary webbings and casted Courage on him to grow him a spine with some extra health and stamina. I was curious to see just how far he could go with my buffs. The Draugr took him out within seconds, dragging his screaming soul back from the void and inserting it into his corpse. I gave him a second chance to impress us, but he swiftly died again, to the most obvious trap in the history of traps ever, disappointing me, his parents, and just in general, everyone else all over again. Coming face to face with the mini-boss before the master bedroom, I remembered I forgot to pick up the golden key for the golden door. Backpedaling my way back, I looked at my clever undead little helper abusing gravity. And got my butt cheeks blasted by the goat one.
Frick.
It's always so much fun when the companions in Skyrim show you they care about you and your mental well-being in their own special way. For fun and whatnot, I resurrected a Draugr in the middle of the slice and dice trap, watched it get obliterated, laughed, and called it stupid. Then I got turned into mincemeat myself. After getting the golden claw, I made the zombified zombies run the gauntlet to see if they could make it, unliving the unlife on the speedy lane. The last one technically made it. It stopped in front of the blade trap to ruin my fun, but I decided it counted. Inside the master bedroom, the most dangerous and annoying trap yet awaited.
What do we say to Meridius Beacon? Not today!
Stupid deformed discount pool ball. After learning me a word from the graffiti, the Bleak boss got up in a tizzy. I let my Atronax slow roast him and got Fadringer's new pet rock. As I was returning the glinted scratching device back to Daddy Golden Claw, I saw something in the corner that inspired me to veer off on a side path of distraction.
It's a fine day with you around.
Frick off.
I slept until night, seduced the door to let me in, and rescued the bucket, which had been begging for help alone in the corner. The golden claw also made its way back into my collection of things. I wasn't done, not even a little bit. My goal was to liberate all the buckets of Riverwood. I would stop at nothing. Next up was Alvor and Siegfried's house. At first everything was looking fine. I found a bucket in the corner, but Derp the little girl caught me red-handed. Back outside, I was immediately greeted by two stooges looking to spill my insides. With a swift maneuver and a cast of fury, I made them fondle each other violently, and the town's guard got involved too. Unsealing the contract revealed that a bandit outlaw somewhere despised my guts.
What?
Then I freed all the buckets inside the inn. I loved being the good guy. Back outside, the third stooge made its appearance. Second verse was the same as the first. Somebody should call him a hearse. With Siegfried's house in my sights, I hacked my way in again, but got stopped by the little girl. Again, thinking that doing something else for a while, she would eventually go to sleep, right? Vendal's house, followed by Sven and Hilde's house, all lost their buckets that night. I failed to rob Siegfried's house again. Clearly the little girl never sleeps, which is fortunate for me, since she ain't going to live long like that. I will get what I want, eventually. My pet peeve with her was turning into a psychotic hatred. Tried again, and failed again, and again. There was a thought about the definition of insanity.
This kid never sleeps. I think she's a vampire. What a freak.
While whirring down the porch, a master vampire made its presence known by killing and resurrecting a chicken. I tried to follow the commotion, but I lost sight of them when I got distracted. The gods were having a rough evening with the bloodsucker, and the master vampire emerged victorious in the end. And despite my bestest effort in running away, he drained my one and only hit point.
Freak.
On my second life, I was forced to flee into the inn in the end. After the good vampire finished with the folks inside and the screaming had stopped, I had a small heart attack when he opened the door to the room I was hiding in. Fortunately, he couldn't smell the blood of an anemic slug like me, or the pee in my pants. Thanks to the chaos that transpired, I found a bucket I previously missed. Fortune in misfortune of others, as they say. The key on Onion's corpse didn't work on Belle's dungeon door, in case anyone was wondering. Round 3, me versus Master Vampire. While aware that just a brush of life drain was enough to end me, I lured him inside Hurdur's house.
Freak!
Letting my family deal with my problems. They kicked its pale butt back into the grave, and then both Hurdur and Herb gave me gifts. A surprise to be sure, but a welcome one.
You're new around here, so I'll go easy on you. But don't get on my bad side.
His family, let it go.
After some amount of time not worth mentioning, I reached Illusion level 90 and got Master of the Mind perk, which means Illusion now works on fossils and toasters, all because I was sick of losing to the vampire child. With my amped up illusionary potency, I bought new spells from the college, got assaulted by the courier with conversation, but I got my revenge on him for the inconvenience. A small power nap later, I thought I saw a centaur, gave the courier another rousing round of anger issues, and let my family beat him up. Following that, it was time to deal with some unfinished business. Using invisibility, I avoided the vampire girl's keen senses and creeped through the living quarters undetected. I liberated all the buckets inside. Some meat joined me on my journey as compensation for my troubles. Back outside, the courier was still loitering around. I didn't feel like I was done with him yet. The Valerius family answered my call, but after Camilla the makeup disaster died in an unimpressive fashion, I had to calm down the fight. Didn't want to risk losing a trader if I could help it.
Too bad the courier is more important to the Elder Scrolls universe than you.
After that, I took a trip to Markat because curiosity. During my stay, I decided to stick my fingers into the assassination play, but I didn't want the man's hard work go to waste. I cleverly manipulated the citizens into dealing with the victim. The Batmans tied to these events forced a letter down my pocket, which I discarded without reading, or at least I would've if the stupid game had let me. I had him forced on his knees for his insolence.
Everyone suddenly went crazy. They just began a spontaneous battle royale. More and more people are joining in on the fun. This is great time. What the heck?
And as frenzy spread throughout the town, bodies kept piling.
There must be something in the water.
After managing to shake off the distraction of a distraction, I got back on track with Dragon's Reach as my stop and handed Hermione her dragon slate. Irulet dashed over to spread panic, followed by talkies with the Jarl.
Not now.
I kept casting Pacify, trying to calm everyone down. Near the gate, I alternated between casting Fear, Calm and Courage on Irilet's soldiers, probably causing them all kinds of emotional damage.
House guard. How can we fight?
Freak off, kid. Every time.
Together with Irilet and her groupies, we battled the dragon Marmalade, and thanks to Irilet's frequent breaks, it took quite a bit of forever to bring down. They must have been paying her by the hour. Her followers ended up sprawled on the ground, useless and diseased. I worked hard hiding behind the corner. After eating the dragon's soul and harvesting its bones, I returned to the Jarl.
That was the voice of the grave.
I proudly informed him of my awesomeness. There was mention of greybeards or whatever. I was bestowed the great gift of a donkey. She couldn't even see me ignore her. From there, I decided to cut some corners and try climbing to high hrothgar from the wrong side. By happenstance, some bandits were wasting space along my path. I made them engage in mortal combat to the death, twice. Then I rescued a bucket. Mountain climbing isn't always easy, but usually there is a way to get where you want to go. You just need to be stubborn, like a mountain goat. An eternity passed, and I made it.
Yes, yes, yes. Alright.
Standing there, in front of the precipice of insurmountable effort, I stood tall. Well, as tall as Bretons go. Relief and pride washed over me. Little did I know, I had conquered the wrong mountain.
God damn it!
I wasn't even upset. That wasn't a lie. It just wasn't the truth. Climbing in places where I wasn't supposed to be, I found all kinds of anomalies. I can't believe the developers didn't iron out the details in these locations. I mean, I get that I'm not supposed to be there, but that's not an excuse now, is it?
Brick!
What an awful trip. I'm about as stubborn as a creature born of the union between a donkey and a mountain goat, while a mule watched the process. I will do the thing I set my mind to.
Yes, I was about to get serious.
Speaking of mountain goats, I wanted to meet the leader of the Greybeards next, possibly skipping some steps. In short, I wasn't done with climbing yet. After making it all the way up there, I felt like climbing some more mountains. I saw a silhouette of what could have been Partunax, but it was just a rock formation. Turns out, he isn't there if you skip some steps in the etiquette. There was nothing at the highest peak. To commemorate this fun event, I placed a bucket and a broom at a familiar ledge, doing my best to reenact what Paul of Mitten Squad did many moons ago. I had a moment of silence for the fallen hero.
Rest in peace, brother. You're out there playing the real game. Somewhere. Where we can't reach you.
You have no idea how many times I messed this up. Paul made it look so easy.
No!
It was time to meet the old goats. Using the back door, I entered the grey goat pen, met with Arnold, sneezed on his face, and no matter what I said, the quest didn't advance. I had to leave and come back through the front door to get Arnold's brain operating. Then Blades grappled with Ernie. They were too powerful for my shenanigans. And after some backyard Olympics, my training was all but complete. I just needed to find the fossilized croissant.
A croissant?
But first, securing more funds in Dawn's store. Some cultists came over, forking over their belongings into my whip around. There was enchanting, smithing, the works. With my coffers a bit heavier, I set my sight on Winterhold, ready to be a thorn in their side. However, the senior magician didn't fork over the master illusion spells, despite my illusion being at 98. I got triggered instead of the quest. Talking to the head maid to advance my standing in the college didn't work, so I upped my illusion to 100, opening me the VIP section from the spell vending machine. And I was able to buy the master level spells that I can't even use yet because somebody didn't pick the perk to cut down their mana cost in half. Brilliant! On my way to Oostenkravlax, I got rhetorically ravished by the relentless runner again. He was still lugging around the bow that he used to off Carmilla the makeup. Seriously, this guy is delivering everyone's mail single-handedly. His VO2 max must be dog-like. After offloading my excess junk, a dragon dropped by to harass the fine folks of Winterhold. I did my part in the ensuing chaos by expertly escaping. Venturing deeper into the wilderness, I stumbled upon an ancient vampire causing a commotion. She made a quick work of the vigilantes attacking her, and it blew my mind how fast she took down my frost atronach. To ruin her evening, I resurrected both of the fallen vigilantes. The first one went down real easy, but then she had a stroke or something, and my second Zombatron managed to finish her off with the last hit before expiring himself. Swinging by a pale Imperial camp to liven things up, I made the Imperial soldier ask the horses why the long face, and they just lost it. At Oostengrav, I pitted everyone against each other to clear a path. Inside was a routine of rinse and repeat, although I did die once due to collateral damage. Buckets were rescued, I learned the shout of low opacity, there was a floor of fire, I cut my way through some spiderwebs. It's okay, spiderwebs don't have feelings, and I picked up a note that said, Your quest objective is in another castle. Next, another lucrative venture to line my pockets. En route to enchant some items, Lydia sniped me with a request to carry my burdens. The Red Guard warriors lay in ambush, waiting to blitz me with an intrusive quest. I didn't want to deal with them, and the townsfolk had my back. To teach Lydia a lesson, I sent her off to participate in Skyrim's first moon landing. After that, I buttered things up at How the Stream camp for fun and experience, found a sweet new saddle for my donkey, and enchanted a soul reaver, hoping my mule would start catching souls for me. From there, I moseyed over to Riverwood, with the local inn as my first final destination. As soon as I entered, Sven was gearing up to serenade the place. I wasn't having any of that. Belle swiftly dealt with him. I'm giving 5-star for customer service. I initially rented a standard room to see if there was any difference if I requested the attic room after that. Turns out the answer was yes.
Oh, you wanted the attic room. Why didn't you say so the first time? The thing is, we don't actually have an attic room. But I think I know what you mean. Go ahead and make yourself at home.
I had a nice 16-hour power nap. Belle was waiting there the whole time. Gotta admire her insane patience. Following her lead into her fornication fort, I liberated valuables along the way as an inconvenience fee. Blah blah blah, Kynesgrove, let's go kill a dragon.
So are you just like gonna close down this inn? Since your hubby is dead. No, wait, I can actually fix this. See? I fixed it.
To save some time, I went to grab a cab from Whiterun.
You're running, Lydia.
In Kynesgrove, a runaway serf verbally violated my personal space despite my invisibility. Gotta love that. As compensation, I pillaged the inn for buckets, since it was deserted. After emptying the nearby crop patch, I tested if the dragon resurrection scream caused any damage. Turns out, it didn't. The earth gave birth to a dragon. I watched from the side while the ladies and my Atronach beat it to death, and we were finally ready to push the plot forward. I dropped the horn of Wigfrey to the elderly. They sang praises of my naked body with an unexpected enthusiasm, and there's still nothing in the deep throat of the world. It was so much fun returning to Riverwood, only to be redirected to Solitude to meet Torbjörn. Before leaving, I left some treasures in my Riverwood home for safekeeping. Soon, I graced Solitude with my musk and stumbled upon a magic show about to unfold on a nearby stage. Ruining everyone's joy, I intervened, causing pandemonium. I was curious if the volunteer would survive. He put up a good fight, but eventually, the headsman caught up with him. I ensured he had a comfortable seat on the train to the afterlife next to his co-star. After handing malformed my stuff, I made my debut at the Thalmor embassy, stark naked. Despite Belle's protests, there was a distraction. I retrieved my items. Surprisingly, the Thalmor didn't attack my Atronach immediately upon seeing it. Guess they're accustomed to magic wielders doing whatever with spells. A loose Atronach is nothing. That's my headcanon anyway. I egged them on to fighting each other. It was like chemical terrorist attack with baiting salts. Really great time all around. Inside the dungeon, you're never going to guess what happened next. More infighting. I freed a prisoner, he got his buttocks blasted by a god, and Malborn got freed from this existence. JK, he a zombie now. We made it out alive to a troll's nest, where my new prisoner friend decided to jump down and get mauled to death. Interesting strategy. I pacified the troll, and slipped, and died. On round 2 of escaping, Malborn died again, just to disappoint everyone twice. After fast switching to Riverwood, Belle made sounds with her mouth, and the quest indicator thing told me to find Osborne next, with the whereabouts of said fellow known to everyone with over 30 buckets in their back pocket. I Ubered to Riften, and refused to be shaken by the bully at the gate. Instead, I had the people around him chew him into bits. A spider popped by and scared the pricks and an Atronach out of me. My donkey leapt to my defense before I could react. This display of awesomeness made me reconsider leaving her behind. Her competence outweighed her knack for getting in my way. After all accounts were settled, I got my passport to Riften. I barely made it through the gate when pandemonium erupted again, unrelated to my antics for once. Nonetheless, I wasn't gonna say no to some good old local fanny massacre. After calm returned, I appropriated a bucket, ventured into the ratway, and practiced my conjuration on the anthropomorphic rodents whose home I had just invaded. I seized another impressive container and fired giant fist into Lowlife to coerce them to do battle in the goat tank cave with stale food. Lowlife won, twice. I parked my donkey at the slanted wagon, watched my zombie perform a skateboard trick without a skateboard, and found Darwin's bow. No clue what it is, but now it's mine. While engrossed with the rats, karma struck with a wagon-shaped retribution. After locating Osborne's door, I sacrificed one of the locals to my Atronach, knowing she had a bucket somewhere within her. It was a grim necessity, and we swiftly made our skedaddle. Returning to Riverwood, I dragged Carmilla's corpse to her brother's doorstep, hoping for a proper burial someday. I played Cupid and matchmade Osborne with Belle, then died of boredom in the cave of copulation. While I was busy getting distracted around the college, a dragon dropped by to freak around and find out. The college quickly grilled it, and I shoveled its soul into my face mouth.
Stupid dragon.
My next target was Skyhaven Temple, and I decided to start my journey from Markat. The locals there never had a good time when I'm around. This visit was no exception. A child innocently asked why her parents were fighting, and when they lied, I set the record straight, and soon everyone was busy working on their familiar relationships. Taking a break near a Forsworn camp, I observed them duke it out with a dragon. The creature seemed to like to faceplant the ground nearby when it ran out of juice. Meanwhile, I meddled into the savage's affairs. After a brief hiatus, the dragon returned refreshed, and the flying scaly idiot crash-landed in the same place. The show got boring, so I invaded Cartspire. Inside the butthole of puzzles, I screamed myself past the pressure plates and watched my zombie light up the mood.
See these symbols on the floor? We'll cross once it's...
I died on the way back.
Oh no.
Be careful.
Oh, up yours. Frick! My stupid zombie!
After solving the idiot filter, I cut myself out of embarrassment, all in effort to learn how to express my feelings. Following the Grey Coat's instructions, I learned to dispel fog by screaming. Amazing. Meeting their leader, I did a hug on Partunax. Next up, the Elder Scroll. Great mark.
Alright, we've all seen enough. Put on some clothes.
Nope. I'm going to stand right here until you tell me what I want to know.
I could have probably skipped this step, since I already knew where I was headed. Septic Sucker handed over his Rubik's Cube, a puzzling gift. Along the way, I looked at a fox, orchestrated a duel between wolf brothers, and resurrected a goat. Finding myself lost in Elfland or whatever, I had a stroke of impressive magnitudes after I made my way out, and my donkey looked at me with concern as I found myself stuck in a tight crevice.
And she's so cute and clueless.
Inside the cold rectum of Skyrim, I cranked the difficulty up to expert, because the game was feeling a little too easy, and I fed my minions an oriental meal.
At your best, huh?
After resurrecting a fellow cave dweller and watching others do the heavy lifting like usual, I turned the difficulty up to legendary. This only managed to make the fights longer, not harder, which was perfect for buying more time to level up conjuration. Deeper in the stinky cave, I found myself sandwiched between two mechanical spiders. Funnily enough, both of them got sent to the lower floor by the purposeless pistons. My donkey got lost somewhere, so it was just me and my Atronax for a while. In the room of one big drop, I stomached the fall, and my previously summoned astronaut sent a farmer my way from up above. Upon finding the two idiots that start to fight each other, I pacified them to check their pockets, and they have nothing on them, thought you should know.
What the frick?
Before trying that again, my donkey came back. She found a cute little route around the colorless cavern. Killing these two was an amazing time sink. The master lock keeping Lydia in her pen took a few billion tries to unlock, but once I got the gate open, I used that chance to hop into the college and buy me some bound spells to power level my conjuration while the fight continued. Then, I had the absolute gigabrain idea to turn my illusion skill to legendary since I was consistently running low on perk points. With that, my quiet casting was gone. Now everyone would know where I am every time I tried to pull my usual stunts. Pardon my foolishry, my intellectual thought lifespan is very short. Luckily, the Centurion, which I ignored earlier, was content just watching the situation solve itself, just like me. And after 18 long, excruciating minutes, the dumb duo finally croaked. The depressed transformer was too flabbergasted, I believe, that it just gave up. Knowing that my donkey would give it the lynchy treatment too, it just wasn't worth it. My mule performed the 1000-blade nicks for free, while I practiced restoration, carefully, to heal Lydia's wounds from the previous battle. Restoration has a mana regen perk, and I was aiming for that. Inside the jellyfish fields, I relearned my illusion back to quiet casting, died by collateral, and snagged the band-aid for the time wound. However, I forgot to pick up the cube the septic brain handed me. Back on the throat mountain, I ripped open the ties of time itself.
Alduin approaches.
Only to be stuck in the wound indefinitely. Alduin never arrived. Then it happened again and again. The solution, according to Reddit, was to quick save during the white transition screen. So, I kept smashing the quick save button with a mighty RPM. Thank the mighty dog it worked. Alduin finally landed his thick butt on the lath. Dragon Wren's scream was snugly stored inside my cranium, and Alduin showed up, looking to get his buttocks beat, or so I thought. Here's a montage of me dying to random fireballs.
No! Frick. No! Frick! Oh! Ah! No! Reach! No! What the? Oh. Frick! No! So close. No.
With 35 deaths in my recent PTSD history, I finally managed to survive by a combination of become eternal shout and playing dodgeball with Alduin's fire droppings.
Frickin' finally I'm done!
After replacing my hood with a sweet circlet, I was ready to talk to the Jarl. We needed to torture a dragon into spewing information instead of fire, but I couldn't speech him into compliance. Instead, I had to convince the two factions of maidenless lackbrains into a truce, while I dealt with Skyrim's real problems. This time at the Peace Council, I let the embarrassing yellow stain stick around, because I wanted her to experience the good old-fashioned Skyrim politics. Past the Cloud District, which you don't get there very often, Jarl agreed to let me into the back room. We covered a soldier with honey as a bait for the scaled stupid head. It worked like a charm. I made the mistake of sending my goons at him, effectively prolonging the inevitable. Ketchu does not like to wait. Using route, I managed to remind my donkey of the plan, where we need to lure a dragon into the mating machine, instead of hacking it into pizza toppings. After the dragon was trapped, Partin car arrived on the scene, trying to probe the dragon from behind. This wasn't that kind of play. My new ride protested by screaming.
At least he got the message.
I rode to Skuldafn, but upon arriving, I wanted new, better, bigger conjuration spells. I decided, but first, a quick money grind, then Riverwood. All the dragon corpse bits and assorted mementos were weighing me down. I tried to leave them in the chest in my Riverwood home, but it turns out my family had emptied it while I was gone. So I stashed my crap inside Camilla, since she obviously wasn't going anywhere. At Fort Greymore, conjuration practice ensued. A scared bucket ran across the battlefield, which I rescued after the battle. Inside the fort, more of the same, until Conjuration 90. From there, I bought the spells at the college. Then, a distraction struck my brain. Giant against mammoth, who would win? In the face of such important question, it was something that needed to be solved right away.
How you like the taste of your own meddling?
Now it might look like this is not an optimal trial run to figure out the answer, but that's just because you don't know that the rule of cool takes priority of importance over all other factors. Now you know. You're welcome, by the way. Next, I wanted to see if I could have the kids eat Grella the Kindless.
Test 1 failed.
Turns out no, they might be growing up, but spine is obviously not included in the equation. Kids these days have no backbone.
Friends didn't work.
After a rousing round of mayhem, the constable lady unraveled some emotions, accomplishing my goal.
To witness emotional growth, the achieved mayhem, accomplished goals, homicide, classic Tuesday.
Be sure to let me know if there's some other tests that need to be done. Back at Dragon's Reach, I tried to push the bait away to save his life.
No.
Upon reaching Skuldafn, I skipped the first bit by sneaking through. Ruining the inside, I had others to do the negotiations for me, because the Draugr were lollygagging around the puzzles and my crippling social anxiety. I died to a couple of sneezes. One of the enemy Draugr had the same idea of just spectating from the sidelines. Using the ongoing chaos, my conjuration reached 100, earning me the Twin Souls perk. Now I could summon 2 helpers at once. It was great. The sour Draugr Lord got spit roasted while still undead. Once outside, I used the shout of low opacity to ignore everything and dove into the kiddie pool. At Sovngarde, nothing happened on my way to Chun. The troll bouncing the bridge wanted to test my mettle, so I hid behind a rock and let my Dremoras kick him in the gut, until he agreed to let me pass. Inside the Hall of Heroes, it was time to take care of some unfinished business, but as it turns out, the only thing I could steal was most of the food, not all of it. Nothing else was up for grabs. Turning the joint into a battle royale also wasn't an option, since casting spells was impossible. From there, I crossed the bridge with the 3 flashback fellows. We screamed at the fog until it got the message and freaked off. I died. Everything in this paragraph happened again. I made a new save to save me some time the next time I die, which did happen again and again. I don't wanna count all the deaths this time around, since it took me way too gosh darn long last time.
Kuin nyt pentelee.
After getting destroyed a dozen more times, I took a deep breath. And it was all good. I had to deal the last blow to Alduin, so I screamed at him until he got the message. Force push does no damage. After Alduin got kicked by the bucket master, I played my last round of dodgeball. The sky was still pissing fire, and I didn't wanna get wet. June screamed me back into the world of the living, and a murder of dragons was waiting for my arrival. I made a display of strength and showed them my magnificent collection of 61 buckets. The buckets struggled to exist. One of the dragons tried to make a nest on the buckets, but ultimately decided it wasn't a nice bedding. I tried to send my buckets flying, but the results were unimpressive. A whirlwind sprint did result in something interesting. And I beat Skyrim without doing or taking any damage. That's it for this time, folks. Subscribe to my YouTube, please! Tell me in the comments what I could have done better, or if you have other challenges/games for me to play. Thanks for watching, see you next time, take care now, bye bye then.